systems are offline.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing? How is your Monday treating you? We're back at the start of the week. We had a break last week. We decided we'd enjoy the weather and go out swimming and do everything that we said we would. But yeah, we're back. We're back live. We're back with a local lad. This guy is an absolute legend. He's a Spotify genius. He's got thousands of downloads with his music. And honest to God, he's a nice bloke as well. We're going to be live with Ciarán Darcy, a.k.a. Darce. He's going to be talking all things music with us, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, you know how to do it at this stage. We're live. I think we're live on Facebook, and we're probably live on another couple of things as well. So if you're around the world and you want to say hi to us, all you got to do is write a comment underneath. You can ask him a question, and we can go from there. It's that simple. Now, we must do a very, very big shout out. This podcast is kindly brought to you. We do the advertising. See, I told you we're going to get very, very professional at a later stage. So we got to do a big shout out to the Brick Oven, who have kindly sponsored this one. They're open 5 days a week. They're open from Thursday to Monday for in-food dining. And of course, they have their famous takeaway. They're open from 4 p.m. on Monday to Thursday, and from 1 p.m. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Honest to God, is the best wood fire pizzas I have ever tasted in my entire life. And that's not me just giving them a shout out because they're paying me. That is genuinely it. Fact on fact, they are the best pizzas I have had. They have loads of pastas as well. They're fantastic with the pastas. Kids are always entertained. They've got daily specials, and they want to do a big shout out to all of their customers and supporters over the last couple of months for supporting them, and they really, really appreciate it. So for that, they're going to give you a chance to get a free garlic bread or a soft drink. All you got to do is say hello to Danielle. Hi, Danielle. How are you? And go up and say, Cabin Fever, I want my free food. So you go, hello, Danielle, Cabin Fever, and you'll either get a free garlic bread or a soft drink with your takeaways. That's all you got to do is promo code. I get very fancy now with my promo codes, aren't they? But Cabin Fever inside the Brick Oven in Banshee. We got to do a shout out because they're making this podcast work. I suppose they're sponsoring it. They're paying me. I'm going to be a big baller. Watch out, Joe Rogan. He's worth 100 million. I'm only probably worth 100 euros. But anyway, we're going to get there. And we're going to go live with the podcast now, ladies and gentlemen. And we get over my bullshit that I normally talk. And we got to do a shout out. Hold on a second now. If I press this, we should get Ciarán with us. Ciarán, what's happening, my brother? How's life?
Fantastic. What an intro. Oh my God. Yeah, man, all down. That was amazing. And the music as well just adds to that atmosphere, you know?
That's the stuff you can rob off YouTube, my friend.
Exactly, man. Hey, but it's great. And also, like, just in general, and I have to say, like, this podcast is such a great idea. And it's such a cool platform to learn of so many stories, you know, from people that we know and kind of, you know, sharing, like you said, like cool stories, you know, around battery and stuff and people doing cool stuff. And also entertainment value as well. I think it's a lot of entertainment value.
Hey, I'm a professional monkey at this stage, man. I'm an idiot. I should have been a clown, but I never could pass the tying the shoelaces part with the big shoes. I was too small for the big shoes.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I don't know how they do it. That's actually sorry. That's one of the great unsolved mysteries. How do they fit into those shoes? That is.
How do they fit them into the car? How many fit 15 clowns into a car, huh?
God, life's mysteries. We're asking the big questions here.
Yeah, the big questions. Yeah, we're going to solve the world tonight. Right, Ciarán, a.k.a. Darce, what's happening, my brother? How's life been treating you? How has COVID-19 been treating you? You've been working hard, or you've been writing, or what's the story? What have you been up to?
Yeah, man. So COVID's been crazy. So before this all kind of happened, I was living in Dublin. And when this all hit, it literally came back down and I kind of set up my own kind of studio here and bought a mic was the first thing. And I've been kind of writing constantly, but I think, you know, I think the case is with many people, even talking in, you know, the music industry and stuff like that, like they've had very up and down days, you know, because it's also like if you're kind of, especially when we weren't allowed to go that far, you know, you need, in some cases, you need to kind of get out there and interact with people or, you know, hear new music or go to gigs and stuff like that, to kind of be inspired. But yeah, I've over the last like month and a half, I've kind of been finishing up a single and going through mixes. So really excited, and also working on a Brazilian TV show, doing some music.
Brazilian?
Yeah.
That's random.
Yeah, it is. Well, oh man, the music, it's all very random. it's myself and a bunch of musicians. We're kind of working on the show that it's part Los Angeles, part Brazil, and man, it's mad. Like the amount of random things that can happen just through music or like people listening to it. It's actually ridiculous because everything's so global now. So like you upload it and it goes everywhere. Same with podcasts, man. Like you don't know. You never know who's watching or listening, and who can pop along from Brazil. So delighted to be a part of it, though.
And what are you doing there? You could be one of the judges on Brazil's Got Talent, or how's it going?
Yeah, I'll be the Louis Walsh of Brazil's Got Talent. Could you imagine? Jesus Christ. But yeah, no, we're so basically kind of the premise. It's a story kind of based aspect that they're selling. I'm not allowed to tell too much about the story, but basically we're providing kind of. It's a story of someone's own musical journey, and I'm providing some music for it. Cool. Kind of then we're contributing to the main theme and doing some interviews around it, which is exciting. But it's also like when the cameras are on and stuff, you're like, oh god, are you watching yourself back?
This can be practice. Don't worry.
This practice. Man. How do you find that actually? Like watching yourself back? Do you mind?
I don't. I cringe. I go, Jesus, did I just say that? What a fucking idiot. How am I getting away with this? How are people tuning in? I just go, I cringe like every time. I hate the sound of my own voice. I'm thinking about advertising on my big forehead. I just don't listen to them. And I should, because I make so many mistakes live every day. I should just go back and say, Terence, don't do that. But no, I don't. I cringe, man.
Man, I think it's the same for everyone. Like I know people who are actors and they can't watch themselves back, and they're like, I need to forget it's me. Do you know what I mean? They need to like not, but like, oh man, like the amount of dumb stuff I've said in interviews, or even my body language. I remember looking back and like what was I? Was there actually something wrong with me? Like why am I? I remember one where my eyes were like. I was you know the way when you're talking to someone normal, you're like nodding, you're like, oh yeah. And, like, and my eyes were just like that. I look like a psycho. It's like Americans, and you watch it back like, oh great, that's fine. Everyone just thought this is great. This is what they think of me now.
These people have never seen me before, but now this is what they think of me, like a psycho. Big eyes like this, like.
But like, and that's what you have to cut. Like, imagine when you're doing this for like the promo that you said to people, like, what's it about? And that's what you have to go with that clip, and you're like, on the notes, like, I haven't killed anyone. I don't. It's just my eyes are unnaturally weird. I'm sorry. It's the problem.
Yeah, it does happen, man. And you know what? It's. I don't know. I look back at myself and I go, I can't believe I've asked that question. Or what am I doing? Touching my face? It's not even itchy. Or like I've tried hiding my hands now. Like I've ripped batteries apart in my hands to try and keep my hands entertained from not playing with stuff. And thank God it's not a full size camera, because I'm in boxers as well, which doesn't help.
Business to the top, but
party at the bottom. But I've tried loads of things, man. And the other one then is I've tried putting the cameras in different positions, but I can never just look at the camera. I always have to either be looking at the screen, and I'm so bad at it that I even catch myself looking at myself. No one else. I just watch.
You can't help it though. You're looking like, does my face look weird? Yeah, looks weird. What? Well, okay, what was that? Like why? Then it just looks like you're like just someone like else talking to you. Like you're like completely like, oh no, I'm just looking at myself. It's fine. But
that's happened to me doing podcasts, and I did one. We were talking about it off air. I did one with Victor Barry. Oh, you're frozen. Hang on a sec. You're gonna look back at this one and love this freeze. Hang on a sec. We're gonna come back, brother. Are you there or are you gone? There we are. We're back.
I'm here.
Wait till see how your face was frozen in that one. You're gonna love that one.
Great.
I did a podcast with Victor Barry last week, and I was pure fanboy, and I was blown away by him. And he was talking away, and I instantly just forgot I was talking to him. And he was like, "Well, what do you think of this, Terence?" And I was like, I hadn't a clue what he said, so I went off another tangent trying to fix it. And I said to him afterwards, I was like, "Man, I just spaced out completely. I just blocked out. I was too busy watching him because it was like a childhood hero that I'd listened to all these years when I was small, and I was like, can't believe I'm actually getting to talk to him." So I just went cat stuck in the headlights type situation.
stop, and you're probably like, oh my god, that's actually, they're real, like they're actually here, like because you're like, oh my gosh, I've seen this person like so much
Yeah.
in my life, and listen to them, and you're like, oh my god, they're actually like a real person talking to me. Yeah, that's happened
How are they talking to me for fuck's sake?
definitely.
That's it, man. Right, we
I
gotta
know,
talk
yeah.
about you. We gotta talk about your music, man, because this is what you're on. Spirited Always, man. I love that song. It's like you're such
Thank you so
a
much.
storytelling voice. It's fantastic. I've been trying to figure out who you're like, and I can't figure out. It's kind of, I don't know. I've been listening to it now the last couple of days, and I've been going, are you kind of like the Streets, like a really mellowed out version of the Streets? And then I've been going, you're kind of a mixture of, you've got this really housey voice, but with a really urban undertone to it. Like you definitely don't sound like you do on the mic. Like I honestly think it's the skinny black fella singing this, the way it comes up with you on it. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah, no, like it's. I don't know, man. You've got a very Drake sound as well. Like it's really, really nice. Like it's like it's like, you know what? It's really, it's like an urban poetry. Like, and it's not like rap or anything like that. It's like it's a real. Like you can just sit back and listen to it. Like, you know what I mean? You don't have to be engaged with the song, like, but it's dope, man. It's seriously good, and I love that Bob Ross track too. That disco sound, that's cool. Like it's like Chef from South Park. You know, that's a real cool one. Like, but they're totally on different spectrums. Like they're like nothing alike.
Yeah, exactly, man. I think, but firstly, man, thank you so much. And I think, what's really kind of interesting, even like in any musical process, I mean, it all kind of revolves around, what you're trying to make as different type of music as possible. And even like for myself, obviously, like coming from West Cork, making hip hop is such a strange combo. Like,
Yeah.
so you kind of can't go, it can't be kind of typical in a way. You always have to be like tongue in cheek. And there's so many good stuff. I mean, like, there's such an interesting narrative, coming from West Cork and like making, providing this kind of perspective and really, and, it's also something, a lot of people can relate to coming from a small town. But then Bob Ross, oh my God, we actually like, people like were like, sorry, Bob Ross, the really happy painty guy. And it was basically just like, it was just, they're like, he's doing just, the song has crazy references. Bob Ross would never do this. But it's like just a random kind of conversation starter. And, it's kind of fun. But yeah, I think that's what music is about. It's kind of a mixture of expressing yourself and kind of making something vibrant that people can dance to and kind of move to as well, which is a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, it's cool, man, because like I said, they're completely different, and like there's no, you can't put one by the other because they're completely different. Like Bob Ross has got a real disco 70s vibe to it, and then you've got like Spirited Always is just so laid back and chilled, like, you know what I mean? It's got like a real house sort of background to it, you know what I mean? Like it's a pure poetry story being told, like, but yeah, you've got, excuse me, Jesus, bashing on now. You've got a real old school sort of Kanye vibe as well, like, you know what I mean? It's a real nice vibe, man. You've got a serious vibe. In fairness, like it's cool. It's cool stuff, and I would honestly direct anybody over there to have a look at you. We've got a link, I think, in the link below, so people can be checking you out as well. So no, it's dope, man. Congratulations, brother.
It is, man. But I think what's interesting as well is like, especially the producers you work with as well. I mean, like you sit down and do a session to produce with someone, and someone can have a completely different idea. Like the Bob Ross track was actually a collaboration with an amazing producer and DJ called Will DeBurka, and he is crazy talented. And then on the other spectrum, like Spirited Always was a collaboration with kind of a guy called Dale Holland and Glenn Garrett, you probably know, but he made that, which is amazing. And also Eve Clegg, who's an amazing singer-songwriter from
she's got some voice.
Oh man, it's crazy. Great. And she's pure jazz as well. So like her stuff is more singer-songwriter, and so you get her on something like this, and it's just a different kind of genre. And you never know what you're going to make with music, which is the kind of the fun part of it, I guess. And you never know what works. So you just
that's it. You try everything.
Exactly, man. 100%. And that's the fun of it, man. It's like 100%.
It's a bit like when I said about podcasts, man. You haven't a clue where they're going to go. You don't know which road they're going to go down once you just start talking. That's it. You never know. We could solve the world economy.
Go for it. But do you find like when you kind of approach even that kind of way of approaching podcasting, do you find yourself kind of do you obviously you've set questions, but like when it goes off in a tangent, like do you find yourself like, oh God,
no
yeah,
direction
like,
at all. I do not. I like, unless they're very big guests. I don't have like. There's nothing. I look. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and you can tell the ones that aren't natural. And I feel like if you go into an interview with what's your name, where did you come from, why did you start music, and you'll hear a lot of them. You'll hear a lot of podcasts like that. They're more interview based. And like, if I want to listen to interviews, I'll go listen to the news. Like it has to be a more like, I never have an idea where a podcast is going to go. I have questions, and they're not even questions, they're kind of topics on sort of getting information out from them. But like, it's a conversation, so it goes both ways. Now, of course, you end up talking about some of the same stuff all the time, but look, it's just you're having a conversation with a different person all the time. You know what I mean? I'm sick of having conversations with myself, so it's I'm starting to answer back now at this stage. But you can't have like, if you have a set thing, and this is the problem with it, and I've found it, I've tried doing them. I don't want to be robotic. If you know what I mean? There's nothing worse than coming across robotic, because if you're robotic, not too many people want to watch, or they don't want to listen. Whereas if you're more sort of natural, like you gotta think who's your audience, where you're coming from. Like I said, if I wanted a job on 6-1 News, I would go down the line of interviews and stuff like that. But just having chats, man. Just having a chat. Like, I like the way Joe Rogan does his podcast. I ripped him off loads of times since I've started this. Everyone does, yeah. But yeah, that's kind of the route we're going. Like, it's very laid back. You can sit in your car and listen to it. You can go out walking, running, and listen. And look, try and give some people some bit of information that they enjoy. And they, like, if we're here for a half an hour, 20 minutes, an hour, 3 hours, it is what it is. We're just having a conversation.
But it's great, I think, especially like to have something like this. I know we were chatting about it, but even like, to have the kind of local stories of people who did something, like we're both doing something kind of different for like Bantry and stuff like that, or like, just show people, you can do whatever. Obviously being based in Dublin, but you can really do anything kind of just because you're in Bantry. It shouldn't really make a difference of like where you are and stuff like that. But like, because there's so many people doing so much cool stuff, like from Bantry and even in Cork, like you're chatting to, like Stevie G is an absolute legend, and Vic Barry, and obviously Barry Bigot, who's like lifting, and Deirdre Begley, who's like fighting, like doing MMA kind of stuff, which is, it's such a diverse path.
From a small town of like 3,500, 4,000 people, like we've got some pretty cool people here, like.
Exactly, man. It's just so many narratives as well, like, and so many good stories.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get them out there for you. Just trying to get them out there.
100%, man, and I think that's such a great platform as well. Like, it's such a great, and the fact that it's podcast, where like, I don't know, like I've done interviews before, and you have like 10 minutes in, and you're kind of being asked. It's like you're saying a press release, and whereas this is kind of, you're like, oh my God, okay, I have to tick X, X, Y, or I have to tell them about this, or I have to show that I played this in order to play the next gig or whatever. But this is just really chill, and the fact that I can go anywhere. I mean, like you said, we could solve the world economy. Is
I doubt it, but we could try.
So, hey, how long do we got? But yeah,
it's easy, man, and it's like I said. I started all this. I did some serious topics, and do you know what? If serious guests want to come on, or anyone wants to come on, and I'll talk about anything. Not very educational because I'm thick of shit, but I'll try and throw my 2 pence in as always. I have a strong opinion about everything. It makes me a good Irishman. A strong opinion about everything and do nothing about anything. So yeah, that's kind of my opinion on everything, really. Like, do you know what I mean? It's cool.
It is, man, and I'm enjoying, like, even the podcast format where you kind of takes the pressure away, and that's good. But like, even in terms of, like, for me, like, chatting can be daunting. Like, whenever I'm playing gigs or on stage, that, like, the fear is like that kind of 30 seconds between songs. Like, that is, for any musician, like, they'll probably say, like, that's the most terrifying part, because that's the part you don't rehearse. And you're like, and anything can go wrong. Like, oh man, like, we played some insane gigs where that's kind of like gone a bit astray, and people have been like, what? And like, you're like, whatever, you've like a couple hundred people looking at you, and you're like, what? And I remember, geez, like some of the gigs we played, like I think it was like my second gig was opening up for Sean Kingston in Cypress Avenue.
Your second gig, I'm so sorry. A bit of a problem there with your second gig opening for Sean Kingston. Like most people's second gig are like their brother's christening or a communion or something like that. They don't intentionally open for fucking Sean Kingston, brother.
Well, it was more down to stage fright. So I had absolute stage fright.
Oh no.
Up until yeah, so I actually refused gigs until I got a gig with this amazing thing called Music Cork, which is kind of where they showcase artists to like labels and stuff, and it's run by the guys who own Independence. And basically I had to do the gig, and that was my first gig. And then a week later, they're like, I was absolutely terrified. Like there was people from like the BBC watching, and they just take notes. So like it's all, they go from gig to gig and they take notes and stuff, and because they're all like looking for the industry aspect. And but then like the week after, Sean Kingston, and that was like during Rag Week, and I don't think I've ever been more terrified. Like he fucking ruined the gig. Like he played. So firstly, right, we couldn't. It was like during Rag Week, it was sold out in Cypress Avenue, and like we couldn't like. We had to wait like an hour to go on stage later than we were because Sean Kingston hadn't shown up. But it gets mad, it gets worse. So we got on stage, and like at this stage, the crowd was, let's say, they were so intoxicated. Yeah, so basically, man, they thought, like, one guy thought I was Sean Kingston. So like, as I was like, you okay, man? So, because he was haggling me, and he was like singing beautiful girls. I'm like, I'm not. I'm ginger and very white. And he was like, he just kept going.
Wouldn't give up on it, like.
Yeah, which is mad. And like, with them, we get like, oh man, even trying to chat to the crowd there, and like, they were really nice. In fairness, they were like super supportive. Apart from that one guy, you thought it was Sean Kingston, and that's all you can see though when you're on stage. It's just that absolute idiot who's like, he's just singing completely. He's like out of tune, and you can see everything. That's why, like, you know, either you can see everything or you don't see anything. So you have to like, you ignore like the kind of individuals, but you can see the crowd. And like we played it, the set went really well, but then it got worse because Sean Kingston came on and played 5 minutes of a set after being an hour late. Stormed off stage, didn't talk to the booker, and he'd ordered 300 chicken wings. Yeah, man. He'd ordered like 300 chicken wings, right? And he ate 2 of them, and he just disappeared. And that was it. And like, he didn't even, like, the crowd were going insane. And we were like, yeah, but we were in like the green room part. And we were coming out at the same time. So people were like, fucking give it out to us. So we were like, oh no. Like, I'm not Jamaican. I'm not obviously with the Sean Kingston. I'm from Cork. So it was a great second gig, man. It was great fun to watch.
Yeah, what's the story on the road, man? That's what you gotta do. How'd you get over it? What think you made the whole stage fright? How did you get over it? For all those young people listening out there, what made you get over it? The fact that you had to do it?
Yeah, I think you just gotta bite the bullet, really. In terms of, obviously, like, you know, if you're making hip hop in a town, you're obviously like just extremely self-conscious. But just once you get on stage, man, you don't even know. Like, if you're good at it, and obviously even if you're not good and you're learning, like, just get on stage and give it a shot. Like, it's absolutely no harm. And even just, you know, overcoming stage fright it's really just practice. Like, the more prepared you are, the easier it'll come. It'll just be like really, really relaxed. And also, like, I think nerves they're actually, for me now, like, they're part of the good part of going on stage. You know, if you're nervous to go on stage, that means, you know, you have people watching, and that's a good thing. So
that's a good thing, yeah. You know, exactly, yeah. There's nothing worse than getting on stage and no one being there.
You're like, but it's way worse. So one thing I've done, like, it's way worse to play. I would hate to, like, it's way tougher for me to play in front of like 5 people than it would be like, I don't know, 200 or something. Like, it would just, I would be, you know, if it's 5 people, I'd be absolutely, completely like anxiety all over. Like, I played the Brian Casey brought me on to play like a song at the Mariner, and that's the most nervous I've ever been before anything ever. Like man, it's crazy. Like,
forget Ragfest, forget everything. It was the Mariner down in Bantry. who actually is below our sponsors, the Brick Oven today. Hello, Brick Oven. So there we are. We're getting loads of shout outs with the Brick Oven. And the Mariner, which is
Best
their concert
pizza
venue.
ever.
It is serious pizza, in fairness. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, who's listening, Danielle's really going to get her money out of this. Listening, Cabin Fever, and you get a free soft drink or garlic bread. There you are. Couldn't pay for this type of advertising.
That's pretty amazing. Man, that's such a good deal. Like, but also, like, Brick Oven, I've like had pizza everywhere in Brick Oven, so that's
it is decent. It is very, very good pizza, in fairness to him. Steve makes a serious pizza. And serious operator himself and his wife are great operators, to be fair to them.
100%. And that venue, like the venue as well, man, is absolutely wicked. Like, it's so cool. Yeah. But apart from my nerves from playing there, even though I just played a song and I was like, oh, I'm gonna pass out.
We all get that way, man. Shit, you have to be nervous. I think you have to be, because if you're not nervous, you're not excited about doing it, and if you're not excited about doing it, don't do it.
Yeah,
that's kind of my theory on it. Like, even like when COVID first started, I've said this a couple of times, so apologies if anyone's heard this before, but I started doing the kiddies discos live on Facebook. And like, I remember the first time I was doing it, we actually did them in the cozy because we were closed, and all I had was my iPad in front of me, and I was sweating. I've never done a gig like that, because like, you had no interaction, you had no people telling you you're doing a good job, or you couldn't see anything. You literally just had the camera in front of me, and I was just like, and that's the most nervous I've ever been. And I've done gigs in front of thousands of people, and it not bother me at all. But yeah, man, going live on Facebook.
Really? So are you okay, like, in terms of DJing? Like, do you feel you get more nervous or less nervous, or how are you before, like, doing a set, or kind of?
It kind of varies on what you're doing. I've been very lucky. I've got in with some big bands, wedding bands, because I'm more wedding now than anything else. I got away from the clubs, sick of them. And I started just doing more weddings and stuff like that. I'll do birthday parties and stuff. But yeah, do you know, you never get more nervous when the floor is literally full of people and you're playing that, like, after a wedding band or something, that they're great. And although it's a fantastic feeling building up to it, you're like, all right, I've got to get this right. Yeah. And you're pumped, and you're like, right, the band are going to finish now, and they're looking at you and they're going, Terence, you're ready to go. And I'm going, yeah, I'm ready to go. And then you press play and you don't have your mixer turned up or something like that, or something stupid happens where the song freezes on your laptop and you're like, oh, shit. And everything just goes blank. Like, your whole mind, like, you could ask what your name is and everything, and you just wouldn't have a clue what your name is or anything like that. Or else you press play on the song and you think it's the song that's going to work in with the band that I've just finished with, and it just goes flop. It goes like that, and you're like, oh my God. And you clear the dance floor, the band is looking at you, the owner of the band is looking at you, and you're going, shit, sorry, fellas. And you got to try and think of something
Here's the Cha-Cha Slide. But
I love that song. I still do that song, man. People still dance the Cha-Cha Slide, yeah. Love it. I do it for all my kiddies parties.
Man, but even, like, that's so interesting, because, like, I think with a DJ, it's like, even as an artist, when you're doing, like, vocals and stuff, you're like, this is me, I can't change anything. Whereas a DJ, it's almost, you have that abundance of choice, and it's kind of like,
you do and you don't,
song after song, like.
Yeah, but you do and you don't. Like, there's a certain degree of it too, where you know what songs work together. So like, if you give me a song, like if you came up and asked me for a request and it was a half decent request, thankfully I've been in it long enough now where I would know 3 or 4 songs that would go with that one song or that genre.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so if you come up and ask me for Christy Moore, I know they want a bit of Irish stuff. So I'd have 4 or 5 Irish songs to sort of follow up. Do you know? So you kind of know, and like, it's the same requests week after week after week if you're in it all the time, and you kind of know what works and what doesn't work. So, like, having an abundance of everything but not knowing nothing is a big problem too. You know, and there's nothing worse than a DJ playing 5 songs, and like, you can get gigs. I've been at gigs, I've done gigs, like I've done weddings where there's been 30 people and had one of the best gigs of my life, and I've done weddings where there's 400 people and had one of the worst nights of my life. Because you're just not on it. You can't hit it. Like, you know, whatever you try, it just doesn't work. Or else you get people up dancing for the last 10 seconds of a song. That really irritates me. Where people get up dancing for the last 10 seconds of a song, and you're like, right, I have them. And then you go play the next song that works 9 times out of 10 competitively. Like, they're partnered up and they just sit down again. And you're like, shit, here we go again. It's going to be one of them nights. But look, it is what it is.
They had no interest in dancing. But
no,
I think
don't.
like that's really like in terms of even DJing from a vocal, or even like comparing to a vocal point of view. Like I think because you have to be so flexible. Whereas like if we're doing like rehearsing with a live band, like you're flexible to a degree, but you have to be like everything is timed to the
Yeah.
second, without like transitions and stuff. So I know where I'm going to be. Whereas you're obviously dealing with like, oh, can you play this song? It's my, whatever, my daughter's favorite, and then you're like, oh, and you play it, and no one dances to it apart from those people. You're like, oh God.
Yeah, I nearly got hung one time. I don't know whether I've told this story or not, but I was at a wedding over in Clonakilty, and normally, like, you try to finish with a big song that people can dance to and sing along to, and have them singing at the end. That's always my target. But he came up to me and says, "Would you play Robbie Williams' Angels?" Now I love that song. It's a great song, and it's a great song to finish because people will sing to it. And this guy came up. It was like I suppose it was about 2:15 at the time, so we were finishing at 1:30. And he came up and he asked me, he said, "Would you play this song?" He said, "The bride loves that song. It's a fantastic song." And I said, "You know what? That's a fantastic song for everyone to sing to. I'll go play it." Right? I says, "Yeah, no bother, lad. I'll finish up with the last song, no problem." So he came up, within 10 minutes, he came up 4 times. So he kind of got my back up. I was kind of going, well, like, you're being very, pushy with this song. Something doesn't smell right,
Yeah.
So just before the last song, where we got the bride and groom into the center of the dance floor, she came running up to me. She says, "What did he ask for?" And I said, "Oh, Robbie Williams' Angel." She was like, "Don't play that song. Don't play that song." I was like, "Why? What's wrong with it?" And she said, "That was the song me and him used to shift it back in the day." And I was going to play what her schoolyard boyfriend's song was at her wedding for her final dance.
God.
And I was that close to pressing play. Like, my finger was over it. Could you imagine that? Yeah. She used to shift some young fella to that song, and she's now dancing with her boyfriend, like, or her husband. Yeah, so you gotta be careful, man. Gotta be careful, like.
Yeah, of course, man. You don't know obviously with me, like, it's like when you're playing to a crowd, you presume it's like most people haven't heard, your track for the first time. But I suppose, like, for DJs, you're kind of like, every song has like this nostalgia to it as well. Which is kind of, you have to be so careful, like you said, because that could bring up emotion. Could be like, they have awful like stuff to like happen to that music, and you just play it, and you're like, oh no. Which is mad, right?
I also got done once. I got done for the rock the boat. You know that one? You know when they all get down the line and they go rock the boat like this? I do all that type party stuff at weddings. I love it. It's good crack. But I also got caught once where the bride came up and asked for rock the boat. And I says, yeah, no problem at all. So get the bride down, do the whole rock the boat, the whole lot. Everyone's fantastic. She's loving it. It's fantastic. Comes up to the end of the night when I'm packing up my gear. She said, "You ruined my night." And I says, "What?" She says, "You ruined my night." And I says, "How?" I says, "Jesus, the floor was full all night." I said, "Apologies." I said, "But what happened?" She said, "I'm after ruining my dress because you made me sit down and do rock the boat." I got hit with a dry cleaning bill of €500 for that dress. Yeah, 2 weeks later, and a solicitor's letter. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "You were the one who asked me to do rock the boat." So from that point on, I sort of learned rock the boat. I don't do it with the bride. I get the bride to stand up. No more sitting down.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, man, it's crazy. Lessons you learn on the road. Like, €500 to clean that.
100, man. That's mad. I remember, like, we were supporting another band in Cypress Avenue called The Boom, and they're electronic.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, they're amazing. Oh man, check them out. They're an absolutely amazing band.
Didn't they have a song out a couple of years ago? Go on, you're going to keep talking because it's going to come to me there now in a second. They did have a song out a couple of years ago. Go on, I'll think of it.
They're mad. Yeah, no worries, man. But they're an Irish band, and they had just, it was like kind of, they're on their tour and they'd sold out Cypress Avenue. We were supporting them, but like we were kind of the first act on, and there's usually like the 2 support acts go before, but they had so much, like, it was bad. They had so much gear, and they're amazing. They need it. So like we had like this much room to stand with our gear, and as you know, it happened. But then what happened was that it was kind of like we had to do essentially a line check. So they had to let the crowd in because things were going a bit over, and we had to do this thing called a line check, where you just make sure that essentially your music is kind of connected to the sound engineer and he can hear everything and that the levels are right. And usually you do it during, like, you get a sound check and then you get a line check before you go on stage. But we only got like a line check in front of a live crowd who were absolutely like going mad. Yeah, exactly. So they were going mad for music. And so we started the music, did a few hours, and then we had to stop it. But then the crowd, so they reacted positively to the music, thankfully. But then they thought we messed up. They thought we broke something, and then there was literally like a girl. He just like, because they're like, when you're on stage and there's like people around you, they can grab you like in many ways. Just girls grab like this girl just grabbed me and started hitting me because we stopped the music, and they're like, sing, and we're like, oh, I'm just checking the levels, it's all okay. But then so the music started, and the crazier thing is then the music started and they kept trying to high five us during, like, the crowd down below. They kept trying to high five us and like grab our arm during, and when you're trying to like, because obviously with hip hop you're saying a lot of words very fastly, and you're trying to like tell it to the crowd, and when someone's like trying to grab your head down, it just looks like someone's trying to drown you. And so you're just like going down every few seconds,
and you're like this with the mic, trying to talk into the mic at the same time.
Man, because I usually keep it on a mic stand, and I was going down and I had to take it off. I was like, thank you very much, but really just give me 2 seconds, because you don't mind if they're like trying to grab you or whatever. That's why I imagine, like, I've never done it, but crowd surfing would be horrific. We did have a stage, like, I have a very funny story about a stage invader we had, which was the most random stage invader like I've ever had in my life, and it wasn't like a good kind or anything. It was so we were playing this amazing festival down in Kerry in Clorgan, and it's called K-Fest, and we were playing with the it was near around like did the Puck Fair there and stuff. Oh, beautiful town. And we were playing, so myself and kind of my DJ Emer, and she does vocals as well. She's amazing, black hair. She's such an amazing producer and singer. But we were playing 2 sets, so we were playing like one in the day with this crowd called Kneecap, who are like an Irish. They rap like through Irish. They're wicked. And then we were doing one in the evening where we were in this church. So it was kind of like we were closing out the festival, and it was wicked. There's like 300 or 400 people in like this massive church. And it was such a cool venue, man. But then, so we were staying in Killarney, and we had booked a taxi, or the festival had booked a taxi for us to go back. And it was around kind of like 2 a.m. and we were doing our set. And we did it, and we just see this weird owl fella, just like, he kept coming up, and he had like, we'll pretend like this is key. He kept doing this with his keys. I'm like, who is he? Okay, like, we just thought he was enjoying the music. I mean, that's, again, people act unnaturally when there's music. And then we noticed he was like a shark. The key was like going getting closer and closer, and we were like, what is going on? And then we were doing like I was doing Actually Spirited Always, and basically Emer sings the hook on that song, and I turned, like, I was like, finished my part, and then I turned around waiting for the singing to come in, and there was just silence, and like, Emer she would never miss a cue for anything, and I turned around, and there's this old fella just yelling at her on the stage. I was like, firstly, how did he get on the stage? Because there's security, and secondly, he was just absolutely going, and we literally had to stop mid-song, and basically we walked over to your man. I was like, sorry man, what's the issue? He was like, and basically he was like, I'm your taxi driver, and I want to go home, and it's past my curfew. And we were like, what? And there's like 300, 400 people just looking at us. And basically, man, and when we get to the quiz round, this is the weirdest call, just to spoil the quiz round. This is the weirdest call. He called up his boss, right? And he's like, this is a disgrace. You booked this taxi. And he called up his boss, put me on to his boss on stage, right? And I was like, hi, how you doing? We're just on stage performing, and our gig's kind of been over, so I don't think we can take your taxi. And she's like, she didn't know who I was. She was like, okay. She's like, do you want the taxi? I was like, no, your driver's on stage on the gig. And then we just like hung up, and he said that sound, and then he ran off screaming, like he just went, just effing and blinding everyone who walked by. And so the people in the crowd that I was like chatting them after, and they were like, they thought someone, like, they got a phone call that something serious had happened, like someone had died, because their faces were in shock, and they thought he was like some emergency paramedic. So then he had no, like, basically, man, we had to go up, and then the first thing we had to say to the crowd is like, hi, sorry, that was just a taxi driver. Is there any chance we can get a spin home?
Back to clarity, please.
Man, it was mad. We got his spin, but it was crazy. And the security guard was chatting to him after, and he was like, "Oh yeah, he seemed fairly sound," so I just let him in. I was like, "What?" I was like,
Welcome.
I was like, "Thank you for safety, appreciate it, man." But no, that was such a great fest. And it was such. We were like so mad afterwards. We were like, "Why would you?" But it was, man, it's just a hilarious story about people invading stages. Like, I imagine you've had similar things.
I've had similar things. I've had pints spilled up on top of my laptop. I've had I've had some hairy situations. All right, come about. But look, it's the fun of it too, though. Like, because it is just pure madness. Like, people don't understand like that. It's great to go up and do that. When nothing happens, it's fantastic. But when something happens, it's nuclear bomb situation that happens. Like, you know, it's nothing small. It's not as if you go up there and you say the wrong word at the wrong time. It's like either the whole show shuts down, or it's like something really, really catastrophic that happens that you remember and you go, wow, that was some story. That, like, you having to shut down a gig just because the taxi driver was pissed that he wanted to get home. Like, that's so Irish. Like, you know what I mean? Come here, mate. I want to go home. I want to get off there.
Stop, man. And he's like, the fact he got on stage, like, that is confidence. And he was like, "And how long will you be?" We're like on our first song. And we're like, "I don't know. Like, this is, you know." But it was, man, it was so weird. But like, I mean, yeah, man, I imagine like people, no one's ever spilled the pint to me, thank God. But which is, I imagine that's like, it's probably usually for artists though, it's more you know, it's more of a memory kind of based game where you're like, the fear of God is, you know, if you forget a lyric or you come in at the wrong time, or you know, which thankfully hasn't happened. But you know, it's also, what do you do if you forget? Like, especially like doing hip hop, it's like, if I forget where I come in, like, I have like, there's 30, like, singers can like do melodies. I cannot. I can just I can just be like, oh no, right. Like, and wait until it comes back around, or dance or something.
Do the dad dance. Do the dad dance. Just the shoulders.
Man, trying to go, for like 30 seconds. But no, it's that kind of fear, man. And especially like when you get to play with like these amazing acts. Like, we were lucky enough to play like these showcases who basically the music industry in Ireland. It's Music Cork and Ireland Music Week. We were lucky enough to play that, where they pick certain acts from, like, you know, with Music Cork you get asked to play it and you play for like all these people, and that's, man, showcases will prepare you for anything. And then they have this amazing like Ireland Music Week. Definitely but like
Neil's just jumped in there and said that security guy needs to be fired. Definitely 100%, Neil.
Man, totally 100%, man. I'd say he knew him. I have a feeling your man is like, would you? I'm just picking up someone. They're just finished a gig, like, and I definitely knew. But we were lucky enough to play like these showcase gigs. Ireland Music Week is in Dublin, and obviously Music Cork is in Cork. But that'll prepare you for anything, because really, when you show up, you just have people taking notes on you. Like, you'll have people from different like you'll have managers and labels just being like, no one kind of like, some people will dance, but most people will just be like. And then they're off to see the next person, because everyone's on playing the same time, and then you're in the back with all these like amazing artists, and everyone's trying to be like noticed. Like, we played, I think Fontaine's TC played the year, like when I played it, like, they're on like Jimmy Kimmel now and stuff. Like, they're like fighting Taylor Swift for the UK top #1 album, and like, it's just mad, because like, it's literally, they have all these people from the industry, and you do also like speed sessions. And it's such a great week to do it. You have like speed sessions, and basically you chat for 5 minutes to these people in the industry, and you pitch yourself as a musician, which is it's a crazy concept, man. And then you move on to the next person, and you talk like, yeah, exactly, for musicians and industry people to put them in. And then also you get like meetings with like people from streaming services, and you play them some music, and you know, they either, and that's nerve-wracking, because you play the music, and you know, they either like it or they don't, and then they choose to put you on like editorial playlists. But in fairness, like, I've been really lucky. You know, a lot of my streams have come from amazing, you know, New Music Friday UK and Spotify playlists, you know, that you submit to. So yeah, that's nerve-wracking too, and intrigued. But yeah.
It makes it fun though. Like I said, if you didn't have nerves, you wouldn't be doing it. Like, you know. And that's what the fun thing about it is. I think it's
Yeah,
you have to keep your nerves to a certain level, but if you don't have nerves, you're not enjoying it. That's my take on it.
100%. Man, I'm not actually like obviously you have experience with fighting and stuff like that. How did you get nervous, like really nervous before a fight?
Yep,
Like in terms of like boxing? Because
shitting
I think that would be the
my
most nerve wracking.
pants. It is the most nervous wracking thing I've ever done in my life. Once the bell goes, it's great fun, but up until that point, it is, honest to God, the scariest thing you'd ever. Well, no, I tell a lie. Having a child, childbirth, that is the fucking scariest thing ever. But
I
no,
imagine,
it's
yeah.
yeah, no, it is
Jesus
scary.
Christ.
But yeah, no, fighting. I enjoyed it. I did it for nearly was it 12 years, and it was great fun and it was
Mm.
fantastic. It's a serious adrenaline. It's like you know it. Like I don't even remember any of my fights. You just get so pent up. Like people who say, "Oh, I'm not nervous getting into the ring," and "Oh, it's another day, another day." That's they're fucking lying. Because once that bell goes, you are on your own, and you're on your own so much so that you
Yeah,
will never like you've no one else to back up for. Like I said, if you miss your cue, maybe the musician behind you might be able to do a melody or something like that. If you miss your cue in
mm,
fighting, you get punched in the face. It is that simple. It's good fun
man,
though.
like
I will
I'd say,
recommend it to everybody.
but that's I'd say that adrenaline coming in after because I'm always curious about fighters and just how they approach it. And obviously, someone like Deirdre, awesome and kind of what she does. But even that, like, because there's going to be contact. Like when I go on stage, I know like I might get a bottle thrown in my head, but that's do you know what I mean? I can still get away, which is good. But like I mean, because you're going into like physical contact, and the stakes are so much higher as well, and it's such a I mean, like, yeah, man, it's also the mindset because it's also, I might play 2 gigs in a weekend or like 3 gigs in a weekend or over 2 weeks and it's regular. Whereas fight, it's you have that prep time of like
Mm.
6 weeks or whatever the camp is. And like, how did you find that? Because it's that one singular
I never
event.
did it professionally,
And
so I was lucky enough. When I was training, it was
mm,
when you were fighting in the amateurs. It was you could have 4 fights in the weekend when I first started, so you were just trying to be the best person you were. Now regulations came in that you were only able to fight like once a week
mm,
after that, but you never knew who you were fighting because it all depended on who
yeah,
weighed in on the day. So you kind of knew
oh,
who
geez.
would be there or thereabouts. But
Mm,
lads were starving themselves for weeks to jump fellas. So like you thought you were fighting this guy and you weren't. He skipped the weight or he went to a weight higher, so
oh
you're
my
not fighting
God.
him. And there was loads of different things like that. So like you never really had like because I never did it professionally. You never really had a
Mm,
focus on one guy. You kind of just I must be the best. I must be the best person I can be because I could be fighting 6 or 7 fellas, or I could be fighting one guy, or I could be fighting 10 guys, depending on how many weigh in on the day. Because you'll have fellas that miss their weight, so they get bumped up to your weight. Then you'll have fellas that are supposed to be at
oh
your weight that'll
God.
starve themselves to go down, or else put on weight to go up and miss you, and vice versa. You'll be dodging people to try and not fight them as well. If they're All Ireland champion, you don't want to be going into them in the first fight. Like, so yeah, there was a lot of dodging in
Yeah.
there. So I never really had that whole like we still had 3 months of camp, but it was not even a camp, 3 months of training, but it was never really for one person. So I was very lucky that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how people deal with just the one person, but I guess they get used to seeing their faces all the time and they just drive, drive, drive. You get used to seeing a
100%.
microphone.
Well, even that. Yeah, that's true, man. But even like I imagine that kind of that training aspect for like a tournament or a singular tournament where it's all kind of performance based is just mad, and kind of that 3 months training for like going into it, and the fact that you could fight anyone as well. I mean, like, geez, you could hit someone who's like the wrong matchup, or you again, like you were saying, like someone could jump you. Like that's
Mm.
mad, man. Like, but it's such an interesting. I don't know. Do you like? I suppose even for me, like I think the most enjoyable thing about performing live, and it might be similar to you, is that adrenaline rush. Like first when you're on stage, and then after that, it's just
Yeah,
relief. Like it's
yeah, it
just
is
like
just pure release. It's like a come down afterwards. The come down is savage, and like do you know what?
yeah,
You'd be so tired. And this is the worst thing is, especially if you've got a really good gig and you do a great gig, and people are like when people are in tune with you, they're dancing no matter what. You
yeah,
can't miss a song. Like everybody's going mad for that one song, and the next song you're playing is even bigger than the last. And you're going, and people are singing your songs. Well, I never sing my songs because I'm as musically talented as a monkey. But it's everyone is singing, they're dancing. You know, people are having a good time because you're having a good time with them.
Yeah.
And then you come home and you come off and you're like, yeah, you've just finished up, and everyone's like, one more song, and you play one more song, and the place goes absolutely bonkers. And then you stop. And thankfully, hotels have gotten a lot better in switching on the main lights. I used to love that. I used to hate hotels that would never switch on the main light when the music stopped, because that would just get people out of there for you. Because then you could always turn around and say, well, it's not my fault, it's the hotel's fault. But you'd load all your gear in to the car or the van or whatever you're driving, and you'd be like, you'd be absolutely exhausted. And the drive home would be the hardest part. And then you get home, you're buzzing again because you're after having that time of relaxing and stuff like that. So it's a real sort of roller coaster of everything. That's me. But look, people don't tend to pay to see me. I'd hate to, like what you do, people pay to see you, which is different. Like, I get paid just to be background. Like, people really don't listen to what I say. I could really say anything. But like you have fans. I don't have fans. That's different. Like, I would consider your style of it a lot more work than mine. Like,
I think, man, what's interesting about kind of that aspect of even like having fans or having people that like engage with your music or people who are going to come see you is it's quite nice, because then you have regulars that you know kind of who will support you and go to your gigs. But then, you know, on the other aspect as well, like there is that kind of sense, like the countdown is pretty hectic. You know, it's in terms of for musicians as well, because you're so, like, I mean, before the gig, you're literally going over lyrics in your head. And I remember we were playing a gig in this place called Lost Lane in Dublin, and this is actually where I knew I didn't have any fans going, and it wasn't like, it was a completely different genre to my music, and I was basically making a guest appearance. And kind of, again, you're going on to a new stage, and it's kind of like you have to kind of impress and show what you do. But what's interesting about this is that obviously doing guest verse and stuff like that, there's like, you have to step on stage at a certain time. And so like, to see where you are is really important. So we were playing this gig, and basically the engineer, for whatever reason, left my mic down on the ground. And this is like a club, like it was a packed club. So I hadn't really played like nightclubs before. And like, I basically had 5 seconds to grab the mic and start my verse to this crowd, or like 10 seconds to get on the stage. And like, man, I walked up, and I, like, as I was walking up, I couldn't find the mic. And I think that is like the biggest panic, because if you miss your cue, you're done. And I was like, oh my God. And I was fumbling around, and I literally grabbed it like a second before I had it, and I picked it up and started my verse, and it went really, really well. But like, after that, I think that was the most nervous, because when there's like the external factors, like obviously you have like artists who are like, you know, dance and like, you know, someone Beyonce, remember all the moves and stuff like that. That's absolutely terrifying, because I'm kind of like, man, because if you slip, or if you miss, or like if you miss your timing of coming on stage, or if you come on stage the wrong way, or like, you know, it's similar into theater where, like, you know, you're blocking, and if you miss your mark, then, you know, it's game over, and like, you can't do anything, and you've lost that kind of chance. And that's why, like, you should see musicians like backstage at festivals before they go on. Like, they are the craziest people in the world, and myself included. Like, especially when there's a crowd. Like, I remember we had someone actually at that gig. There was someone saying that like we were the three different factors of nervous. Like, one, I was literally walking around in circles, just saying my lyrics over and over again. One guy was just really quiet and not talking to anyone, and another guy was playing like on the guitar over and over again, drinking a beer. And so like, oh man, and you like try to do vocal warm-ups. But yeah, I suppose like also you don't want to, you know, whenever you're lucky enough to play in front of like fans and stuff, you also don't want to kind of disappoint them in any way, or someone comes to pay to see you, and you want to give your best show and make sure everything. Exactly, man. You know, because they've come here for a good time, and you know, obviously you want to put on the best show and kind of impress people, and like, I think that's just the really fun part as well. Like, it's something, if you do like have fans and people like who are really nice about your music, it's really nice. And also like, you get to see like now with Spotify and stuff, you get to see what playlists you're in, like how people play your music. Like, you know, you can see like summer vibes, or you know, late night listening, and you're like, oh my God, that's so weird. Like, someone in, Alaska is listening to my song at like 3 a.m. crying over an ex. And you're like, what? It's mad. And it's like, that's the name of the playlist. And you're like, oh, cool, man. I don't know if they know I could do that, but just it's like you want to reach out and be like, yo, you okay? Is everything okay? I'm here if you want to chat.
I can see what you're doing.
Yeah, man, exactly. Like you just feel bad, or like you were like, oh man, I made really sad music, and then I was like, that wasn't intentional. But, yeah, different meanings, man.
But we got to talk about like
just
we were saying that we're both from West Cork, hip hop, R&B, all that type of stuff. Like you don't get inspirations local. So what? Like where does all this come from? Where's this stem from? Like you know what I mean? Like we can talk quite openly. We're both from Dublin. We both moved to Bantry, and like it's not as if lads are rapping on corners down here, So inspirations, where do they come from?
Man, to be honest, actually, West Cork is such an amazing place for inspiration. I think it's like really, it's a huge narrative, and that I think in hip hop, like it's surprising. It's actually full of just so many stories and like interesting people, and I think everyone has that kind of the unique or the perspective I try to take is that small town, kind of mentality, and people want to, in some cases they want to get out of it, and also in other cases, they're really happy where they are. But there's so many stories around the place, and also. Like Bantry has a really rich culture, but also, man, I think, growing up, there's an amazing kind of poetry. Like I started off in poetry, really. There's an amazing, like, Irish poetry culture that I was reading when I was like young and stuff like that. And that kind of just informed me. And then, listening to hip hop and people sharing aspects of their kind of environment, and also kind of coming up with creative new ways. And obviously, it's quite like, Bantry is there's not a lot of people rapping Bantry, but it's also, it makes you kind of stand out. And I suppose it's, it really, with music, it's really anything to stand out. And, it's kind of anything you can do to be different, or, be unique, or anything like that. It really kind of helps. And, if you're Ginger from like the middle of West Cork and you're rapping about, all those kind of aspects, as long as, you can do it in a creative way, then people are going to react to it, but yeah, and also just like, hip hop as well. Obviously, I just grew up a massive hip hop fan, and just how people could flip lyrics, and it's really an exercise. It is a music and lyrics are all kind of just this exercise of what I can get to rhyme together, and how many words I can get that sound the same that still make sense. And so it's just a lot of fun to do, man. And so that's 100% where my kind of inspiration comes, and also I don't know, just from other music and people too, man.
Who you listened to back in the day then? Eminem, them type of rap, or was it more sort of, was it old school rap? Was it like, like the 80s rap and stuff like that? Because like I can't match your flow, you know what I mean? I can't find out where it comes from, because it's got a real story, like it's real poetry. Like you have the old school poetry in there, but it's got such an urban, like it's such a, I can't get it. Not that I can't get your music, I just can't find out where the inspiration comes from. You know what I mean? Like you're not like DMX roaring into a mic, or you're not like, Eminem rapping about God knows what, or you're not rapping about like, big screen TVs and lowriders and stuff like that. It's got a very poetic, urban feel to it. I can't find I can't even compare you to anybody, because I can't think of anybody. Like you're very unique, and like I said, you've got a great sound, man. You got a brilliant sound, in fairness. So that's why I was trying to figure out where does it come from.
Yeah, well, I think there was a guy called he was a big influence on me, called Lupe Fiasco, and he is he's more underground than So Lupe Fiasco is like, when I was like a little kid, I'd listen to Lupe Fiasco, and he's very like, his album The Cool was a complete narrative based, but he was also extremely poetic in terms of stuff where he would, he'd use kind of metaphors from poetry, and he'd also like combine it, and himself and kind of obviously Kanye, Drake, Childish Gambino, all these people you kind of listen to as you grow up. You just hear like, you take things from people, you take kind of and even people in the Irish hip hop scene. I mean, like, geez, there's some amazing acts that I kind of was listening to, and even now, like you're inspired by it. Like there was a guy called Rob Kelly growing up, or even like poetry and spoken word as well. I was really into that, and just kind of watching it. But yeah, that kind of narrative based American, and then obviously like the UK scene as well. I always thought they were like, really interesting in terms of how they kind of paint, the portrait of, let's say it's not the most like glamorous hip hop stuff, but it was a unique kind of portrait. Um, yeah, people like them, and that old school '80s. So I listened to everything from the '90s, like Jay-Z in the early '90s. I used to listen as a kid, even though I wasn't like born when he was making the music or anything. But like it was just like I would listen to the '80s stuff, '90s, and just kind of you figure out your own style too, and obviously what works, because
Yes.
you can't rap about like anything that they rap about, because you'd be like, what? Sorry, you're from
What?
like yeah, I know you're from Bantry. Like, do you
Bloods
realize?
and the Crips.
So
You
you
can't
just,
really get away with that.
yeah, geez, man, yeah, exactly. Cobras and the Vipers, like, like it's kind of, you just take the inspiration, and there's so many interesting, even through Ireland, man. Like there's so many interesting stories and stuff you can pick up. Like, even our kind of going out, culture is very unique and very different. So it's just kind of sharing that, man. And it's obviously, I'm lucky that people like, it's weird. The UK is probably my biggest listening base. So, it might be X-Pax or something that missing home. So, you never know, man. That's
Man,
kind
once
of
it
where
works.
inspiration comes from. 100%, man. I think, yeah, just take it from anywhere, man. Really. Yeah, but it's also just fun, man. Like, I mean, if you're trying to figure out like a puzzle in music, really, and trying to put all these things to make sure that they rhyme on time, and hit the beat, it's just a lot of fun, man. It's really, it's just a cool culture to be involved in, and yeah, also just put your own spin on it. Like, I'm a big country music fan, so I like that stuff too.
But then what comes first? Does the beat or the lyrics come first? I always wondered about that. That was always one thing about music. I could like
uh,
you've got like the beat playing, and then you've got the music, or the lyrics over it, or does the lyrics come first and then the music goes over it, or is a bit of like you both work kind of together on the same page type, or can you meet one guy and he go, look, I can rap on that, or not I can rap, but I can write, or I can put something onto the beats that you give me,
mm,
or what? How does it work?
yeah, it's so that's the interesting process about music, man. It depends on a case by case basis, and the fun part is like, sometimes you'd be writing constantly and you'll have a concept, but usually for me it would be, I'd hear the beat, but I'd have like, preconceived concepts of something that I'd want to talk about. I'm like, oh my god, this is the perfect beat for that, or and it's also for me, personally, it's just very reactionary, and so like I'm lucky enough that I get to write for other artists too, so I can, like, in terms of, I'll hear, a melody or something like that, and I'm like, oh, that would be perfect for X, or but it's also, you just, once you hear the music or you hear an idea, it doesn't even have to be a fully like formed beat. Like, for a track I did, Valhalla, it was literally like, it's like a siren, and I was like, oh my god, we have to make something over that, and I was writing over a siren, and so like it just, that's kind of works, man. And it's usually once you get something that you can react to, and lyrically, I just start writing, man. So it's definitely the beat first, and then the lyrics, or the idea first, and then. But also, like, there's an artist, like Lord, who's a New Zealand artist. She'll write essays, and then she'll come in and she'll write down like all the essays of the story, and she's like, I want to make a song about this, and that's a really interesting thing, because she'll take out key words from it and put it into the song as they're writing it, or phrases, and she kind of condenses this mad essay into like, a few bars of a song. But for me, anyway, it's definitely reactionary, because I just write. So how I write is really weird. So I'll hear the beat, I'll write like the first line, and then I'll go back to the top. So I have to start again every time I write a new line, and redo it to make sure it kind of all fits together. So like it's actually like, it's a quick process for me now, but like at the start I was like, why does this? And then you have to try and, like, cut out as many words as possible. But yeah, that's how I do. So I keep going back to the start and say the entire thing again, go back, write the next line, go to the top, say the entire thing again to make sure it flows all perfectly. And if you're doing a verse that's like 2 minutes long, you're writing like for ages. So it's a lot of fun though, but it's really really therapeutic, because you're not thinking about anything else. Like, um, yeah,
we were talking off air about you've started a modelling career as well, but you had an interesting story in a field with a load of sheep. How did that work out for you?
exactly, man.
Modelling in Ireland
So yeah,
101,
I was
sheep included.
yeah, sheep included, but man, we had tough. First, it was trying to find the thing that was covered in sheep, the road. So we were like, what? And sheep do not back off roads. Irish sheep, I think Irish sheep are unique. They do not care. They will stare you down and like just not move. And even like the typical Irish thing, go on, and then they just look at you like I'm not moving. But yeah, no, as looking at the same with an Asian agency in Cork called Upfront, and it's really just because I did a rock shirt commercial, and like just as for a bit of crack, and I was into like acting and stuff like that, and doing theater, and mostly for stage fright purposes, it helped, and but yeah, no, so I got signed to this agency, and we were doing our first shoot, and it was like we got these amazing, like I don't know, like from Riles menswear in Chile, we got this amazing kind of suits, and they were like €300 or whatever, and like basically we were like walking in this field completely like there's sheep like going to the bathroom everywhere and sheep shit everywhere, and we were like trying to pose and look cool, and like the photos haven't come out yet, but like I'm pretty sure there's sheep in the background for like the shoot, and we were trying to walk up and down, and there's like there's like cows coming down, you're like, oh my god, and like the cows are not too impressed, and supposedly there was a bull, but yeah, man, we were just like, it was hilarious because you're trying to look all like cool or whatever, like, and you're basically standing with like there's a sheep. Oh, sorry, we have to do that again because there's a sheep like in the street. But it's amazing, man. Yeah, it's just so much crack. Like,
there's literally a sheep taking a shit in the background there. We've got to redo that one again. Like.
Trying to hit your pose, like, and you're just like, I think it's definitely. Like, say what you want, like, but doing that in Ireland is 100% humbling because you're like, oh, I look so cool with the suit on, and then the sheep's like, I'm just gonna take a shit on you. I don't give a shit. Like, you're like, oh man, and you're just like, it's like see me in 6 months with it, but
yeah, I'm definitely going to take advantage of eating all of the lamb that I'm going to be having in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. Spring lamb, I remember you fucker.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly.
So what are you doing? What are you doing in your spare time then? If you're not modeling and writing, what do you do in your spare time?
Well, I'm actually, so the crazy thing is my spare time is usually doing music stuff. I'm actually working. So I'm working in a company in Dublin still. So I do like, I'm a data analyst, which is the nerdiest thing in the world. So it's like basically looking at numbers for a company called Wilson Hartnell in public relations. So like music is definitely my downtime and kind of how I relax. But then also it's work. Like when you're doing stuff for TV shows, you're like, oh my god, I'm exhausted. But yeah. So that's in terms of downtime. I don't know, man. I find it like it's been really weird. Like I've been trying to like take like I don't know, because since I came back from Bantry, I've just been like finding like all the stuff I used to do as a kid, and like all the nostalgia. You're finding like old Manchester United jerseys from like the like watching clips of like, oh my god, Manchester United was good. Remember that? And just going through like watching old matches when we didn't have matches. I used to throw on like old when I was working, just throw on like. Or even when I was recording, I don't know, a form of inspiration of a bygone era, the ancient, last time United won a trophy, and just throw it on, man. But that was kind of the first thing. It's like mad nostalgic. Like even looking around here, like there's just stuff from your childhood, and obviously, man, I've probably been terrorizing people of Bantry, running around the place. I
met you a couple of times out running.
Yeah.
All right.
Man, people think, but it's so funny. Like, you still get like, I love in Bantry. It's like it would never happen in Dublin, but people would beat you. Like, like it never like in Dublin, people would go mad, but like people, like it'll be a big deal, and it won't be like a single honk. It'll be like the beat that for like 30 seconds. You get exactly, way, and then like the finger out, like the hand out the window, go like, hey, bye, and for no other reason than you're running. I love that, man. My favorite thing ever, and just so you, man, I remember one time I couldn't see who it was, and it was evening-ish, and just someone started like they obviously knew me, and you obviously sometimes you can't see in the windshield or whatever, and someone just started like beeping like, and I was terrified. I was like, because I had my earphones in. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. It was like when I came back, I was like, oh man, I see too many horror movies. This is how it goes. And it was like my basketball coach. I was like, all right. I was like, good to be home. Because I was like on a rural road in the middle of nowhere. And I was like, man, this is it. But sure, it's like, I don't know. Have you seen that movie that they based in Glengarriff, the horror movie?
Yes, I haven't seen it. I heard of it when it was being done. All right, yeah. No, I wouldn't know anything about it though. I just hear that they were shooting a movie.
It's hilarious. It's actually hilarious because it's like they makes like Glengarriff and Bantry look like, or not even Bantry because it's not. It's just in Glengarriff Woods, and it just makes it look so backward. Like, I was like, what? Because they didn't even shoot it. They shot it in like Antrim, and I don't know why they were picking on Glengarriff. Because Glengarriff's like lovely. It's so nice, and it was like it shows like it's like Glengarriff. Even the woods is like quite close to the town, and it was just showing like these guys who lived in a hut in the woods, and they're all like deformed and like they're like killers and stuff. I was like, this person has obviously never been to Glengarriff in their life. Like, you know, that was happening. They'd be like, yeah, just get killed. Like if it was happening, they'd be like up the glen. There'll be like whispers around the woods or something. You know?
We'll show you.
Yeah, I know, man. And then it wouldn't even be like they wouldn't even kill you. They just come out and be like, "Will you play junior this year?" And you're like, "No." You know?
Are you free Sunday after mass to play?
Yeah, exactly. We only have 14 players. Or will you be umpire? I would. That's literally that's what would happen if you walked around Glengarriff Woods. If you were walking around, and you haven't played God, man. I'd be terrified being an umpire. I think if someone asked me to be, that's way too much pressure. I'd actually like, I know, like, because they mess up and they'd be like, you know, I'd do that for everything if he was white. But be mad, man. Be mad, man. But how man? So,
go on, no, shout away, because there's about a 2-second delay here, so that's why we keep talking over each other. So go on, shout away. What were you going to say, brother?
No worries, man. But how have you kind of found like kind of the whole lockdown situation, and apart from starting this amazing podcast, like kind of how have you found the whole situation?
Just kept myself busy, man.
Kind of on lockdown.
Kept myself busy. That's it. We did the Kiddies Discos at the start, and then I always wanted to do radio, so I set up an online radio. And that went away. That went really, really good for maybe 5-6 weeks. We were getting like 2,500, 3,000 listeners a week. It was fantastic. But it was just taking up too much time. It was taking up a lot of my time because there's no shelf life on it. You couldn't exactly you couldn't do what this is because the copyrights would shut you straight down. You know what I mean? So then I just said, look, I was always good at talking in class, and I was always good at getting in trouble in class for talking. So I said I'd start getting on some of my musicianal friends and see what they're up to, see how they're finding COVID. And it kind of just spawned from there. Then it kind of just started the ball rolling. And I always then kind of brought it together that's who I'd like to have a conversation with. And I made a list and I just started reaching out to people and said, look, do you fancy coming on? And 99% of the people have said, yeah, not a bother. Let's come on and have a chat. Got a couple of people that have said, oh yeah, I'll do it. Then when you get back to them, they're like, oh no, I'm busy this week, maybe next week or the week after. And then you kind of go, all right, fair enough, you're not game. Do you know what I mean? And then you just move on. But of course, I'd love to get like really, really famous people on here and have a bit of crack with it. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's just, it is what it is. Two fellas having a chat, or two guys, two girls, whoever. I don't mind who I talk to. You know, it doesn't bother me once you've got a cool story. And I think people in Ireland, and this is the one thing that always bugs the shit out of me in Ireland, we don't like telling our own story. We're always afraid of, oh, Jesus, you can't talk to that fella. Sure, Jesus, he's always about what he's doing. And sure, fucking, he never shuts up about himself. And he's doing this and he's doing that. And like, Jesus, man, I've learned so much about myself that wasn't even true with the stuff I've done over the years. But it's, I think people need, especially in like, I was talking to, who was I talking to? Who was I talking to? And I got stopped the next day and didn't even realize that this person existed in Bantry and had done so much. I'm not sure. honestly remember who it was, but we had a massive story, and they turned around that because I get stuff quite a lot now. People are fantastic, and I really appreciate everyone who watches, and they're really enjoying it. But they never even knew that this person had existed in Bantry. And I was going, how do people not know? But you're afraid to toot your own horn in Ireland, because then people turn around and go, oh sure, he's an ignorant fucker, do you know what I mean? And that's what I'm getting people on. Say, look, congrats yourself if you broke a world record, or you're the world champion, or you're any like this. If you're selling Spotify's tickets, you're doing a concert, fucking tell everybody. Why not? I don't see why us Irish people feel bad about talking about ourselves. If in America, England, anywhere else, it's go for it. They build stages for people to talk about themselves in America. And I feel like in Ireland, we need to back ourselves and young people doing things, especially young people in business as well. I don't think they get a great cut, because it's either not the business that their parents want them to get involved in, but it's a business that they're very passionate in. You can't turn around, and if your dad's been a farmer for 50 years and his dad's dad is on the same land, and you turn around to him and go, Dad, I don't want to be a farmer, I want to go be a musician. He's going to turn around and go, come here now, boy, you're fucking getting up in the morning to milk the cows. So there's still that old style in us that we have to really be careful in this country. But I feel like we're turning a corner, and I think we need to talk. We need to talk more as a general, as a nation. We need to talk more to each other, find out what's going on, because we're a very intelligent nation, and we seem to do. And this is another thing that really annoys me. Everybody in Ireland seems to do so much better outside Ireland than we do in Ireland, because we're so quick to shit on somebody. This is it really is. It's you saw Conor McGregor go over to America. Within fight, he was on the dole here, and he goes to America, blows up huge, and then you're turning around. And this is the Irish thing about it. I was a huge Conor McGregor fan, still am. And you turn around, and you're just it's something in us that we just can't wait for them to start falling. And once they start falling, then we just go, hey, fuck him, he's an awful bastard. You know what he said to his mother? And and all the stories. You can't do anything right. And if you do anything right in Ireland, you're doing it wrong. You're either a drug dealer, or you're something, or you've robbed that piece of land from his great uncle, or you can't get a pat in the back in Ireland without someone turning around saying you did it wrongly. You know what I mean? And that's what I think. That's why most of the time I got together with guys in the industry, sort of saying what have you done for COVID? What are you doing? Some musicians have said, look, we've done live gigs on Facebook. Some of my DJ friends have gone off and done different type of game shows. Shout out to Anthony Fleming. He's doing catchphrase and stuff like that. And why not tell people what you're doing? Why hide it? We're having a bit of fun. We're doing it to entertain people. I don't think we should be ashamed of ourselves anymore. And I think that is bred into us as an Irish nation, that we're ashamed of doing right. And I'm not just talking about right as in everyday life, but I'm thinking about you're huge. You're from Bantry. You're on Spotify. You're doing all these gigs. Why not tell fucking people about it? But if you turned around and started telling everybody on your Facebook page, oh, I just went and did this gig, they'd be like, God, look at your man, he's a langer. Now, I know there's plenty of people in this town, and probably in Cork, turning around to me going, come here, did you see that Terence Gibbs fella? He thinks he's fucking Tommy Tiernan or Joe Rogan or Ryan Tuberty on the internet there. You see him with his fucking background. Who does he think he is? Do you know? I don't give a fuck. Do you know what I mean? Once people want to come on and talk, I don't care. Let them talk. Do you know, if people enjoy it, then I'll keep doing it. If people stop enjoying it, then I'll stop doing it. It's that simple.
Yeah, man. But even I think in terms of I was lucky enough in terms of the music, the first aspect, and obviously playing those showcases. One of the things we do get, we get kind of media training, and we kind of get it's a way of media training, because you have to with the kind of with Ireland Music Week, with that kind of speed dating stuff. You have 5 minutes to pitch yourself to these people, and there's UK artists, and I've been lucky enough to play, or go to other kind of showcase festivals, or in some do some stuff in LA and Europe and stuff, and play gigs and comparing to American musicians or whatever. But they will just go up and they will literally be like, I've done X amount of what, I've done Y. Some people because you only have you have to grab someone's attention within 2 seconds, and you have to make them want to come to your gig. And some people would rock up with folders of like Spotify streams saying their audience, and they would say, I have, 500,000 listeners in the UK. That's why you should book me, or I played this gig. And that's something like in music, man. There's definitely, you have to we're lucky enough in a way, but like you have to kind of just pitch stuff that you've done. And it is like a business pitch. And also, like, I do think in Ireland we are turning a corner, and like I've been very lucky in Bantry since I'm making hip hop, which is absolutely a mad idea to do in West Cork. But everyone's been so like, anytime I come home, everyone is so kind and so nice, like, at Christmas and stuff like that. Like, and even like if they'd have no interest in it, like, are you still doing the hip hop? And I'm like, yeah.
The hip hop.
Yeah, exactly. And like, there's some people like think are like, they'll try getting me to sing songs. They're like, I can't actually hit that. I can sing slightly, but I can't. You know what I mean? I don't know what you're expecting here. But we get producers to make it sound good. But man, like the support from home is actually like, it's unreal, and it's one of the most refreshing things when I started doing this, because you're obviously nervous of people's kind of perspectives on it and opinions, but and especially when you use it as kind of a source of some of your lyrics and stuff. But people have been absolutely amazing, man, and I think you're right. We are turning the corner, and hopefully that Irish kind of begrudging sense is kind of going away a bit, because look, man, we all want to see each other do well, and I think Ireland as a nation, we do punch above our weight, like in general, man. Like we're a tiny island, and and also a lot of people who some of my friends are people that I know, or other acts have come over, and the first thing they'll comment is every second person in Ireland is they're either like an artist or an athlete, or everyone has kind of a passion that they pursue, as well. And I think that's something really unique in Ireland, so we might as well just encourage people to go for it. Like, why not?
Yeah, why not? Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You only live once, like, you know what I mean? And you should definitely just go for it. Be sensible about going for it, I think, as well. You have to kind of have a small bit of sense behind what you're doing. Like, I'm not going to go play basketball for the Chicago Bulls or anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't have a dream like that. You still have to be a small bit realistic in what your dreams are. Like,
well, true, man. Well, who knows? Fucking, hey, Bantry West Cork hip hop seemed like very unrealistic until I did it, and they're like, oh wait, actually, someone liked it, so that's good, which is crazy. And then you're like, what? Then you're like, oh my god, someone actually likes this. And then I'd say, man, the high of someone like getting, but even like when you post something, you have to do it for like promotional reasons, or like it's more like a CV. So like if I post about like a gig I played, I'm like, I played this gig, which means you can hopefully book me for that gig, because I've proved myself that I'm not a lunatic on stage. And like the booker hasn't said anything bad, or I have a certain amount of streams that I can pull with a certain amount of crowd, or I've made these playlists that people like me, or someone from 2FM likes me, or like when they played it, and it's kind of like you have these check boxes, and people just need to know, especially music, that you need to pitch yourself to show that you can play a good show, really, like and that you're not absolutely going to go on stage and just be silent for 30 minutes, and just not say anything and freeze up and be like, oh my god, I'm on stage. Am I on stage? Really? And then walk off, like a Sean Kingston. But
fuck him.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, it was a great support gig. I don't think he's coming back to Ireland. Like,
I don't think he's going anywhere doing gigs. I haven't heard Sean Kingston in about, honestly, since Beautiful Girls. So I don't think he's going to be doing any gigs. I wonder why his music went under, and if he had the attitude like that, fuck him.
Stop, man. He sold out Cypress Avenue. He did a sold out gig across Ireland. Like when he's doing it, he'd just keep doing that, and he'd be like, he'd be getting like a bomb of money per show. And I was like, man, he's got something there. I was like, 10 minutes, like he plays 10 minutes and he gets like a couple grand. I was like, this man, business.
Don't go stale. Just stay for 10 minutes.
Exactly. He's probably like, my warm up takes longer than 10 minutes. This man didn't even do a warm up. He got out of the taxi on stage. He had backing vocals too. Like he sang for around 30 seconds. He sang Beautiful Girls for 30 seconds, and the rest was backing vocals and around him waving a towel around, and people were just like, what? But no, I love Sean Kingston though. Actually, I'm a big fan. But I'm just jealous I didn't get a photo with him. That's pretty much it. And because he just left, so that's just a bit sad about it.
Next time,
But
next
yeah,
time.
man,
If you're listening, Sean
next time,
Kingston,
that's the
we got to get our boy a picture.
exactly
The next time.
man. Remember me? But oh man, but like most, oh man, most, yeah. It was so I supported you in court now, dude. But there's like I did a sports for example, and he was probably the nicest guy ever. Like he took a photo before he went on stage and stuff like that with people from my band, and he was brilliant, man. He just rocked up and didn't even care. Like example was just so
Was
chilled, and he was like, yeah, yeah, example, man. He's
yeah,
wicked,
he's
and
cool. He's a cool
he
dude.
just rocked up and was super chill, just did a set, and he was like, "Yeah, cool, man." And because we like it was a big deal. We had like a dressing room next to his, and I was like taking it was like our dressing room, and I was like the other dressing room. I was just so excited, and that's pretty much the whole night. And then the security came out and went, he was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Oh no, I'm an act. You can't kill me." So pretty much it, man. Oh man, backstage is like at festivals and stuff. Like they're mad. Like some of my friends, musician friends, like Tebby Rex, they were like playing Connect Four with Post Malone, and I was like, what? At one of their festivals, and I was like, what? And then I was like, who won? And they're like, we did, of course. But it took it very competitively. But like, it's just weird because you're all like in agreement for a festival. You're all like just in the same area, just wandering around.
You might as well just get along with everybody talking.
Exactly, man. Like, because you bump into them at the same place. Like, the Irish music scene is kind of small, and like they'll have or like the music scene in general is pretty small, and you'll just be seeing people at the backstages and be like, oh well, it's crack, and you kind of you just bump in, and you're all like in the same industry, and and I think also we're all trying to be exported, which is similar to what you do, like or like what you were saying about people going over abroad, like because the Irish music industry, you have to export. Like, there's a reason. Like I have to, do X or get streams abroad because there's, the fan base isn't really here, or you can't really play that. I mean, like you can play a certain amount of. There's like maybe you can play. I don't know. You can do like the tour of playing, Cyprus, Dolan, Sweden, all that kind of crap. But then there's no middle ground. There's like that, and then Vicar Street, then the Three Arena. So you're like, okay, but you're like, oh, well, that's a bit of a jump. Like, could we get? I was like, well, if I brought a bus to Dublin, would you go?
You want a couple of buses to fill the Three Arena?
Man, yeah. Jeez, man. Get on the kind of coaches and be like, I think go on. It'll be good crack. It'll be some like all inclusive trip. But yeah, man, it's just kind of not that my streams are ever like that. But yeah, it's just a general idea. It's just like, how do you get people to go to your gigs when it's like spread out? But it's fun, man. It's fun figuring that kind of stuff out, and even the live streaming, like doing Instagram takeovers and stuff, man. Like also, you feel like, I don't know how you're finding like the whole how social media, or when you're doing the kids DJs, where you're like, oh my god, this is like you're just looking at yourself like on the camera, and you're like, oh, what am I doing?
What a knob. That's all I kept thinking. What an absolute knob. That's what I think of myself every day, realistically. I just look in the mirror and I wake up and I go, what a knob. And I tend not to look at myself anymore. Just depress myself.
Yeah, oh man. I'm the same, man. I'm absolutely the same. Like, I don't know, you look like doing a live stream. I hate that, like, I've done takeovers, and I remember the first couple when I did it, I was really nervous because you see people coming in and coming out of the Instagram live.
Yeah.
And you're like, people leave, and you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
Like,
I was just going to get to my good bit.
Like, sorry, why are you yeah, I know. You're like, oh, come back.
And then you have like 50 people watching, and then it goes down to 1, and then it goes to 0, and then you're like 20 people watching, and then you have like 5, and you have like 10, and you're like, oh, Jesus, just fucking stay still, will you? Just give me a group. I can just entertain 10 people. I'll be pretty happy.
Exactly. And then you're like refreshing it. Like, well, for me, anyway, I was like singing because I could see it during the lyrics. I remember, I messed up one lyric because I just saw like, I don't know, 10 people came out and left straight away. I was like, oh man, like I was like doubting the song I was singing. I was like, it was probably the internet, but I was like, oh man, like obviously my vocal performance is sounding horrific. I have another one Friday, so I don't know what I need to like do something better to go with it and maybe not look at it. I'm doing it with like a page. Oh man, but I'm doing it with a page with anybody, and it's like there's like indie music, and it's mostly like other musicians are doing it. So like I'll be pure nervous because I'll like know the people coming in. I'm an idiot. I wave at the people. Like if I know someone, I'm like, hey, I'll stop the song. I'm like, that's what I did the first time. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassing. Like, you can't help it though. It's an Irish thing. Or like I did this once. I was like, during a song, and I was like, oh
the
no,
driving,
actually,
the one finger.
I should not. Exactly, yeah. I should not acknowledge because then they get subconscious and they're probably like, "Oh, I need to actually leave, but I can't because he's just like singled me out." But yeah, with this
He's
stupid finger flip. Well, fancy, yeah, that's insane. Oh, so you, and then the next day, like, oh, I saw you left after 30 minutes of my set. But
what did I say that was wrong?
Yeah, was it me? Was it? And then you're like, it could have been like, oh, I just wanted to make a cup of tea, like or like I was just went for a walk. Like it's nothing hard, but as a musician, you're thinking like, exactly. But also because those gigs are super long, like they're like an hour, and you don't.
Yeah, you have to fill that time all the time. We've got Dom coming in. Ciarán is very talented. Shame he's a ginger. Thanks, Dom.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Fellow ginger. Appreciate it.
Fellow ginger. And he doesn't got much hair there, though, anymore. Though. I don't think Dom's got hair, does he?
It's the beard.
That's just the beard now, yeah. He's got that Viking beard look, doesn't he?
Yeah. It's a great beard, man. All right. Yeah, but I figured, like, me and Dom are obviously filling the ginger quota. We ginger represents. We're part of the same club. We get newsletters, man. It's great. It's lovely. We get like a pack of ginger nut biscuits in the door. Yeah, all the gingers in the world have a WhatsApp group. Pretty much it. And we get like ginger nut biscuits in the mail once a month, which I think is a really nice treat. Like, you know what I mean? That's really nice. Like gingers don't have to do that. Some gingerbread men. It's nice, yeah. It's good, man. It's good.
Keeping it flowing.
I think it's kind they do that. Exact, man. Hey, gingers are dying out, man.
It's dying breed.
Encouraging man. Do you know there's like a ginger meeting thing at Bantry every year?
The Ginger Fest, yeah. Yeah, the West Lodge do
that. I didn't know. I kept getting letters in the mail, and I thought inviting me. Like I was like, I felt very seen. I was like, oh man, this is definitely some trick where they're trying to like get rid of it. Like there's definitely something like I was like, oh, so you're rounding up all the gingers in one place, are you? But
you're watching too many horrors.
The biggest Jaffa cake. But, yeah, exactly. Biggest Jaffa cake ever made. A human Jaffa cake. But that's I watch that movie.
That could be a Guinness Book of Record we gotta try.
There you go, man. Yeah.
There's bound to be some racism laws that we're breaking here now. There'd have to be.
It's cool, man. We don't have souls.
I don't think we like. Imagine trying to put that together. How would you put the world's biggest Jaffa cake together? Yeah. You'd have to get a couple of breeds together there, I'd say. You'd have to get a couple of nationalities together.
Tell you, man. Or like, I think what is it? How many world record? I think one world record we could do in Bantry would be the most amount of gingers eating ginger nut biscuits. That's a personal one. I want to go there. I reckon we could do that. Like, has anyone done that? Like,
I don't think so.
Me and Dom could do it. That would get our own world record.
Dom, you still out there, brother? We need to know you in or out.
Oh,
no, he's fucked off now. We were mocking his beard, so he's left.
Yeah, I know. I went terrible. But yeah,
our viewership was just gone.
It's gone in half. All the ginger community have left. It's sad. It's my big pitch to get the day walker card, which is.
Jesus! Right, we better get on to our questions before we start insulting more and more people around the place. Oh, he's in. Dom's in. Right, we're gonna set up a Facebook event page. The most gingers eating gingerbread men in the country, in the world. Guinness Book of Records. Wow. Right, we're going on it, Dom. We're gonna all come together.
We can do it.
I'll MC it. It's all ready to go.
He can definitely do it, man. I'm
Be on the
so
square
confident.
in Bantry. Joe's
Okay.
been worse things on the square.
Wait,
Right, hold on a second now. This is where we've got to get serious. This is, like I said to you, and everybody else, you've been preparing. I know you've told me you've been preparing because you were worried. But anyway, we've got one question down anyway. We've already asked where the weirdest place you've ever made a phone call. We've got that one. Well, you might as well give it to anyone else that's come in. So hang on a second, right? We've got to wait for me to get. You've got 30 seconds. We've got 10 questions. So, Ciarán, Darcy, Mr. Darce, are you ready? In 3, 2, 1. Phone call or text message?
Yes. Text.
What's your favorite movie?
La La Land. God.
Interesting. That's a bit of a. That's
yeah, it's present so.
Yeah, that's a different one. McDonald's or Burger King?
McDonald's. I've thought about this a lot.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a driver are you?
6. I mean, yeah, 6.
The strangest place you've ever made a phone call or sent a text?
On stage in front of a couple hundred people using an angry taxi driver's phone. There we go. There we go.
A person who you'd like to have dinner with, dead or alive?
Drake. There you go. Keeping it hip hop.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Ketchup in the fridge or outside the fridge?
Outside the fridge. And chef.
Has to be chef. Live forever or have the power of invisibility?
Power of invisibility.
Do you eat soup or drink it?
You eat soup.
And what is the one thing that annoys you the most in the world?
Like people like extremely loud chewing, especially in public places. You're like, I can't do, like, why? Like, because they can hear themselves. I know they can. And we're like, but yeah, no. Like, especially like when your hearing gets sensitive to stuff, you're like.
That is the one thing about musicians.
Your
hearing just gets so different, and you end up figuring so many different things out.
Oh man, yeah, it's weird because like even stuff like before I started music, like my hearing changed completely because like you're listening to like obviously the same with you, like you're listening to mixes and vocals and these tiny details, so you pick up everything now, and you're kind of like, yeah, if someone's chewing like a bit of like weirder than usual, you're like, what? Sorry, and like yeah, this is when I like stop it, eat your damn food properly, but yeah.
Did your mother not teach you anything?
I know, but and they were like chewing with their mouth open, like a camel, and you're like,
Ciarán, it's been an absolute pleasure, my man. Thank you so much for doing this. We'll be reaching out in a couple of weeks. If you got any songs, you can hit us up with us, and we'll post them all of our stuff. Ciarán, it's been an absolute pleasure, brother. Thank you so much.